15 black actors you didn't know were related. What if some of the biggest names in entertainment were connected in ways you never imagined? Not just collaborators, but family. From icons you grew up watching to stars dominating today, these hidden ties will completely change how you see them. Stay with us and subscribe to Black Legends Revealed for more stories you won't expect. Debbie Allen and Phylicia Rashad. Debbie Allen and Phylicia Rashad share more than talent. They share blood discipline and a family foundation that helped shape two very different kinds of greatness. Born in Houston, Texas, the sisters grew up in a home where art education and ambition were treated seriously. Their mother, Vivian Ayers Allen, was a Pulitzer Prize-nominated poet and cultural scholar, and that intellectual atmosphere gave both daughters something deeper than performance training. Phylicia moved with calm authority. Debbie moved with fire, rhythm, and command. What makes their connection so fascinating is how differently they conquered the same industry. Phylicia became unforgettable as Claire Huxtable on The Cosby Show, bringing elegance, intelligence, and emotional control to one of television's most recognized mothers. Debbie, meanwhile, exploded through dance choreography, directing, and acting, especially with Fame, where her voice posture and movement turned discipline into drama. Have you ever noticed how two sisters can come from the same house, yet carry completely different kinds of power? One ruled through stillness, the other ruled through motion. Their relationship adds a powerful layer to Black Hollywood history because neither woman stood in the other's shadow. Phylicia built a legacy through theater, television, and dignified screen presence, later winning acclaim on Broadway. Debbie became a creative force behind the camera, directing episodes of major shows and mentoring generations of performers through the Debbie Allen Dance Academy. Together, they represent a rare family achievement, two sisters who did not simply become famous, but helped expand what Black women could look like in American entertainment. Their bond reminds viewers that legacy is not always built by one star alone. Sometimes it rises from the same household, splits into two paths, and changes the culture from both directions. Whitney Houston and Dionne Warwick. Whitney Houston and Dionne Warwick were not just two legendary voices who happened to come from the same musical universe, they were family. Dionne, already a polished star of the 1960s with songs like Walk On By and I Say a Little Prayer, belonged to a generation that made elegance sound effortless. Whitney arrived later, carrying a voice so powerful it seemed to turn every stage into a cathedral. Few casual fans realized that these two icons shared blood through Whitney's mother, gospel singer Cissy Houston, who was Dionne's aunt. That connection gives their story a deeper glow. Whitney did not rise from nowhere. She came from a family where music lived in the walls, in church harmonies, in rehearsal rooms, and in the discipline of women who had already survived the business. Dionne's success showed that a Black woman could cross pop, soul, and adult contemporary without losing grace. Whitney took that inheritance and pushed it into another era. How many fans heard Whitney's voice without realizing they were also hearing echoes of a family tradition? Their bond adds emotional weight because both women carried fame differently. Dionne built longevity through control and refinement, while Whitney became a global phenomenon whose gift burned brighter than almost anyone's. Their careers were separate, but the family thread between them reveals something powerful about Black entertainment history. Talent does not always appear alone. Sometimes it travels through generations shaped by mothers, cousins, churches, and quiet examples set long before the spotlight arrives. Whitney and Dionne remind us that behind some of the greatest voices are family roots deeper than fans ever imagined. Yara Shahidi and Nas. Yara Shahidi and Nas are connected by a line most viewers never trace family. Yara's mother, Carrie Salter Shahidi, is a cousin of Nas, linking a new generation actress to one of hip-hop's most influential voices. That connection isn't loud or heavily promoted, yet it sits beneath two careers that feel very different on the surface, one built through television and education advocacy, the other through decades of music that shaped how stories are told in rap. The tie matters because it shows how influence can move quietly across generations without needing the same stage. Yara's rise came through Blackish and Grownish, where she brought intelligence, confidence, and a distinct voice to a younger audience. Off-screen, she became known for academic achievement, activism, and public speaking, even earning a Harvard education while maintaining her career. Nas, on the other hand, built his reputation through albums like Illmatic, and a catalog that defined lyrical precision and cultural commentary. His impact stretches far beyond music into business investments and long-term cultural influence. Have you ever noticed how talent can evolve differently within the same family, yet still carry the same sense of purpose? What makes their connection compelling is the contrast. Yara represents a modern, polished, socially engaged presence, while Nas carries the weight of experience, storytelling, and legacy within hip-hop. They do not mirror each other, yet the thread between them reflects something consistent: awareness, discipline, and control over their own narratives. Their relationship reveals that influence does not always look identical across generations. Sometimes it adapts, shifting from music to media, from street poetry to academic platforms. And in that shift, the connection becomes more interesting, not less, because it shows how legacy can travel without repeating itself. Viola Davis and Mike Colter. Viola Davis and Mike Colter share more than screen presence. They share family roots. Davis, raised in poverty before becoming one of the most decorated actresses of her generation, built her career through theater discipline and emotional truth. Colter, known to millions as Luke Cage, carved a different path, bringing calm strength and quiet intensity to action drama and television. At first glance, their careers seem to live in separate worlds. That is what makes their connection so interesting. Both trace family ties back to South Carolina, and Colter has publicly spoken with pride about being related to Davis. She became a force through roles like Fences the Help and How to Get Away with Murder, while he found his breakthrough through The Good Wife, Jessica Jones, and Marvel's Luke Cage. How often do we see two relatives rise through the same industry, yet carry completely different kinds of power? Their bond reveals something deeper than trivia. Davis commands the screen through raw emotion, often making pain feel almost unbearable to watch. Colter works with restraint, letting strength sit behind his eyes before it ever becomes physical. One became an EGOT-winning dramatic giant. The other became a symbol of Black superhero visibility. Together, their family link shows how talent can branch in different directions without losing its source. Same roots, different rhythms, and both left audiences seeing Black excellence from a wider frame. Snoop Dogg and Brandy Norwood and Ray J. Snoop Dogg, Brandy, and Ray J don't just share stages and decades of pop culture, they share blood. The connection runs through their mothers, who are first cousins, linking Long Beach hip-hop royalty with one of R&B's most influential voices, and her younger brother's path through music and television. On the surface, their careers look completely different. Snoop built a laid-back empire from West Coast rap. Brandy became a defining voice of 1990s, R&B, and a television star on Moesha, while Ray J carved out his own space across music, reality, TV, and business. What makes this connection compelling is the contrast. Snoop's presence is effortless and expansive, stretching from classic albums to film branding and global recognition. Brandy's influence lives in precision, layered vocals, controlled delivery, and a legacy that shaped an entire generation of singers. Ray J's journey reflects adaptability, moving between entertainment formats as the industry shifted. How often do three relatives rise in completely different lanes, yet all remain visible across decades? That divergence gives their shared story real texture. Their bond highlights how talent can travel through a family without repeating itself. The same roots produced three distinct identities, one built on cultural dominance, one on vocal mastery, and one on reinvention. They didn't mirror each other, they expanded what was possible within the same lineage. Seen together, Snoop Dogg, Brandy, and Ray J reveal something audiences rarely notice. Behind some of the most recognizable names in entertainment are family ties that quietly connect entire eras of influence. Nia Long and Sommore. Nia Long and Sommore share a connection rarely made headlines, but it quietly links two powerful careers shaped in entirely different directions. Nia Long became the defining face of 1990s black cinema, bringing warmth and emotional depth to films like Boys and the Hood, Love Jones, and The Best Man. Her presence was natural, almost effortless, never forced, always genuine. Sommore, on the other hand, built her reputation on stage, captivating audiences with sharp humor and fearless performances, becoming one of the most respected voices in stand-up comedy. Their connection is fascinating in the way their journeys seem separate. They share the same father but were raised in different environments, which shaped not only their personalities but also their career paths in entertainment. Nia focuses on storytelling through film and television, creating characters that audiences can love. Sommore enters the instantaneous authenticity of live performance, where every reaction is generated in real time. How many times do two relatives growing up far apart enter the same industry and still find completely different ways to capture attention? That contrast gives real depth to their connection. Shared ancestry doesn't create similarity. It highlights differences. Nia represents intimacy, emotion, and quiet strength on screen. Sommore represents boldness, timing, and the courage to face the audience directly. Together, they show that talent doesn't follow a single path, even within the same family. Their story reminds viewers that success can look completely different in each person, even with the same background. Bianca, Lawson, and Beyoncé. Long before most viewers connected the dots, Bianca, Lawson, and Beyoncé were moving through entertainment on two very different tracks. Beyoncé became a global force through Destiny's Child solo album, stadium tours, and a public image built with near-military precision. Bianca, meanwhile, built a quieter but remarkably durable acting career, appearing in Saved by the Bell, The New Class Sister, Sister Buffy, The Vampire Slayer, Dawson's Creek, The Vampire Diaries, Teen Wolf, Pretty Little Liars, and later, Queen Sugar. Their link came through family, not publicity. Bianca is the daughter of actor Richard Lawson, who married Beyoncé's mother, Tina Knowles, in 2015. That marriage made Bianca and Beyoncé's stepsisters a detail that surprised fans, because their careers rarely overlapped in obvious ways. One lived under the blinding light of pop superstardom. The other became familiar through years of television roles that made audiences say, "Wait, I know her from somewhere." Isn't it strange how Hollywood can place two famous women in the same extended family and still keep the connection almost hidden in plain sight? Bianca's background also reaches into a deep entertainment legacy through her mother, Denise Gordy, part of the Gordy family connected to Motown history. Beyoncé's name often arrives with spectacle visual albums, awards, choreography, fashion, and cultural moments that dominate headlines. Bianca's presence has been more understated, disciplined, consistent, and almost timeless, especially as fans noticed how convincingly she played younger characters across different eras of television. After Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson later divorced, the public family label changed, but the connection remains part of the Hollywood map that many viewers missed. Marsai Martin and Janelle Monáe. Marsai Martin and Janelle Monáe share more than a last name whispered through interviews. They share a creative lineage that bridges generations. Marsai rose quickly, turning a breakout role on Blackish into something larger by producing and starring in Little at just 14, becoming one of the youngest executive producers in Hollywood history. Janelle, years earlier, had already built a reputation for creating entire artistic worlds through music and film, from Dirty Computer to roles in Hidden Figures and Moonlight. What makes their connection stand out is not similarity, but timing. Janelle's career unfolded through experimentation, blending sound, fashion, and storytelling into something that refused easy labels. Marsai's path, by contrast, shows early precision, stepping into power at an age when most actors are still waiting to be chosen. How often do two relatives emerge in different eras? Yet both reshape expectations about what Black creatives can control. That question sits quietly beneath their shared name. Their bond reveals how influence can travel without direct imitation. Marsai represents a new generation that understands ownership early, while Janelle represents the freedom to redefine identity through art. One builds structure at a young age, the other expands boundaries over time. Together, they form a connection that feels less like coincidence and more like continuity. Two creators moving in different directions, yet carrying the same underlying instinct to lead rather than follow. Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem. Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem are cousins, but their connection did not enter the public eye like a family announcement. It arrived through sound, sharp, strange, confident, and impossible to ignore. Kendrick had already become one of hip-hop's most respected voices, with Good Kid M.A.A.D. City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn, turning his Compton memories into cultural scripture. Baby Keem came from a younger lane, more unpredictable, more minimalist, with a delivery that felt built for a new generation. Their bloodline became clearer when the music started speaking for them. On Family Ties, the title itself turned the hidden connection into a statement. This was not just a feature, but a passing of energy between relatives. The record won a Grammy for Best Rap Performance, giving their bond a public stamp without needing a long explanation. Kendrick later appeared with Keem on tracks like Range Brothers Savior and The Hillbillies, each collaboration showing a different rhythm between mentor-cousin and creative equal. And here is the question fans love asking: how many people heard Baby Keem first without realizing Kendrick Lamar was already part of his family tree? Their relationship carries the same appeal. Two famous names, one quiet family thread, and a reveal. Many viewers missed until the collaborations made it undeniable. Kendrick brings discipline weight and lyrical architecture. Keem brings youthful tension, odd pauses, and instinctive melody. Together, they do not feel like a celebrity family shortcut. They feel like two generations testing each other in real time. One already crowned the other, still shaping his own shadow into a name. Janet Jackson and Stevie Wonder. Janet Jackson and Stevie Wonder sound like two separate chapters in music history until you realize they are connected by blood. Janet revealed in an interview that Stevie is her cousin, a detail that surprised many fans because both names already stand like monuments on their own. Janet came from the Jackson dynasty, but she refused to live as anyone's shadow. Stevie entered Motown as a child prodigy and grew into one of the most inventive musicians America has ever heard. Janet's rise was built on control, with control and rhythm. Nation 1814, she turned choreography, production, fashion, and message into a complete artistic weapon. Every move felt measured, every image carried intention. Stevie's brilliance moved differently. He bent soul, funk, pop, and technology into songs like Superstition, Sir Duke, and Isn't She Lovely, creating music that felt intimate and revolutionary at the same time. Did fans ever imagine that two artists who changed popular music from opposite directions were tied to the same family tree? That revelation gives their legacy a deeper charge. Janet brought discipline, movement, and visual power to modern performance. Stevie brought composition, invention, and emotional truth that crossed generations. They did not need the family connection to prove their greatness, but knowing it exists changes how the audience hears the story. It turns two separate legends into part of one astonishing lineage. In that bloodline, rhythm meets vision, precision meets soul, and Black excellence becomes more than individual success. It becomes inheritance carried from one era into the next. Saweetie and Gabrielle Union. Saweetie and Gabrielle Union look like they belong to two different eras of fame until the bloodline brings them into the same frame. Gabrielle became a familiar face through films like Bring It On, Bad Boys 2, and Deliver Us from Eva, building a career on charm, sharp timing, and longevity. Saweetie arrived years later with icy confidence, viral hooks, luxury styling, and a brand built for the speed of social media. The surprise is not just that they are related, it is how close the connection is. Gabrielle has explained that Saweetie's father is her first cousin, making Saweetie her second cousin. That detail turns what sounds like a random industry coincidence into something far more interesting. Who would have guessed that the same family tree could stretch from a Hollywood leading lady to a new school rap star built for internet-era power? Gabrielle's fame grew through acting, red carpets, advocacy, and decades of staying relevant in a difficult industry. Saweetie's rise came through music, image control, beauty partnerships, and a sharp understanding of online culture. One mastered the screen, the other mastered the feed. Yet both represent confidence, visibility, and a refusal to be placed inside one narrow box. Their connection reminds viewers that talent does not always repeat itself inside a family. It mutates, adapts, and finds a new stage. In Gabrielle and Saweetie's case, the same roots produced two very different kinds of star power, making their family tie one of the most surprising reveals in Black entertainment. RuPaul and Cory Booker. RuPaul and Cory Booker sound like names from two separate headlines, but their family connection turns the story into a true double-take. RuPaul came from the world of nightlife, music, fashion, and performance, building RuPaul's Drag Race into a global platform that changed how millions talk about identity and self-expression. Cory Booker walked a very different road: law school, community organizing, Newark City Hall, and eventually the United States Senate. Place them side by side and the contrast is almost cinematic. One made transformation his language, the other built his career on public service and political discipline. RuPaul turned the stage into a place where reinvention could become power. Booker turned institutions into spaces where leadership had to be patient, strategic, and often unseen. Who would expect one family tree to stretch from drag culture's biggest global icon to one of America's most recognizable political figures? Their connection works because it refuses to fit neatly into one category. RuPaul represents visibility, liberation, and the courage to create yourself in front of the world. Booker represents civic duty, law, and the long fight to turn ideals into action. They did not inherit the same spotlight yet. Both learned how to command attention with purpose. In one branch, influence became performance and cultural revolution. In another, it became policy service and public leadership. Together, they show that legacy does not always repeat, it expands. Some families pass down one kind of talent. This one produced two very different forms of power. Fantasia and Casey and JoJo. Fantasia, Katie, and JoJo carry voices that almost reveal the family secret before anyone says it out loud. Casey and JoJo first helped redefine R&B through Jodici, then became a duo whose ballads, especially All My Life, turned heartbreak into something almost sacred. Years later, Fantasia stepped onto American Idol with a sound that did not feel manufactured. It was raspy, urgent, church-trained, and full of life experience far beyond her age. Their shared North Carolina roots give the reveal real impact. These were not three artists copying the same style. They came from a musical environment where gospel family gatherings and Southern soul shaped the way people sang before they ever entered a studio. How many listeners heard that ache in their voices for years without realizing it came from branches of the same family tree? Once that detail is known, the emotional force behind their music feels even clearer. Casey and JoJo made vulnerability sound bold in the 1990s, giving male R&B a rawness that influenced countless singers after them. Fantasia carried that same emotional intensity into a new generation, but with her own fire more theatrical, more wounded, more openly tied to survival. She did not repeat their path. She extended the feeling behind it. Together, they show how talent can move through one family without becoming identical. In one branch, pain became smooth R&B confession. In another, it became a voice that could shake a stage in seconds. Their bond is shocking because it turns separate careers into one larger musical inheritance. Niecy Nash and Sterling K. Brown. Niecy Nash and Sterling K. Brown seem to exist in completely different emotional registers until their family connection pulls them into the same frame. Nash first captured attention through comedy, turning Reno 911 into a space where her bold timing and fearless personality stood out instantly. But over time, she shifted into heavier roles, delivering powerful performances in When They See Us and Dahmer that revealed a depth many did not expect. Brown built his reputation from the opposite direction. With The People vs. O.J. Simpson and This Is Us, he became known for emotional precision, allowing silence, restraint, and subtle expression to carry entire scenes. When Nash revealed that they are cousins, the reaction was immediate because their screen presence feels so different. One moves with energy that can change the tone of a scene in seconds. The other holds emotion back just long enough to make it hit harder when it finally arrives. How often do two performers with such contrasting styles come from the same family line and both reach the top of their craft? That detail changes how their careers are seen. Nash's strength lies in transformation. She can move between humor and pain without losing authenticity. Brown's strength lies in control. He builds tension, slowly drawing audiences into his inner world without raising his voice. Their connection does not blur their differences, it sharpens them. Together, they show that one family can produce artists who reach people in completely different ways, each creating impact without needing to follow the same rhythm. Lenny Kravitz and Al Roker. Lenny Kravitz and Al Roker feel like two names pulled from entirely different worlds. Kravitz built his identity through sound and style blending rock, funk, and soul into a signature presence that earned him 4 consecutive Grammy Awards for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance. His image carried edge, attitude, and a kind of timeless cool that felt closer to cinema than reality. Roker, by contrast, became a daily fixture on Today, guiding audiences through forecasts, national moments, and light conversation with a tone that felt familiar, grounded, and reassuring across decades. What most viewers never realized is that these two public figures share the same extended family line. They are distant cousins. There were no joint appearances to hint at it. No interviews drawing attention, no overlapping careers that would naturally expose the connection. One built his legacy under stage lights and roaring crowds. The other earned trust through consistency, showing up morning after morning with calm authority. How many people would ever expect a rock icon and a beloved weather anchor to come from the same family background? The contrast makes the discovery land harder, almost forcing a second look. Kravitz represents artistic freedom, risk, and reinvention, while Roker represents stability, presence, and a career defined by longevity. Place them side by side, and the entertainment world suddenly feels more interconnected than it appears on the surface. This pairing doesn't rely on drama or spectacle. It works because it feels improbable at first glance. And once that realization settles in, it lingers quietly, reshaping how audiences see the hidden threads running through familiar names they thought they already understood. Some of these connections feel impossible until you hear them, and then you can't unsee them. So what does it really mean when talent, influence, and success keep appearing in the same bloodline? Is it environment, legacy, or something deeper that keeps repeating across generations? And how many more connections are still hidden in plain sight? If this changed the way you see these stars, follow and subscribe to Black Legends Revealed for more stories that go beyond what the spotlight shows.